welcome to another episode of the Director's Chair Network show / podcast / whatever this thing is called. This is the season, however, that I, Ryan, am covering the Michael Mann films. And with me today, I have first-time guest co-host for the Michael Mann series, but a long-time co-host partner in the many projects I've done. Specifically, Craig, you covered 3 different films from Ed Zwick's career. Yeah. But you're with me today for Michael Mann's career. How you doing?
I'm good, thanks. And apologies to people on the video. My camera is not working. We could not get it to work. But we do get this sort of Michael Mann-inspired avatar for me. It's the picture I use for my music. But it's got like that blue. It's fitting for this because some of the night scenes have that bluish tint. And Mann is always very stylized. So the avatar kind of works for the video folks.
Yeah, it does. It does look very Michael Mann Heat for sure. So the aesthetic is there.
Or replace the keyboard with a M50 or something, and we're there.
So we're covering a big film today, and I'll just say this up front: if you're listening to this because you are a Heat nerd or fanatic or those things, we're not here to give people something they don't know. So if you're looking for like crazy trivia and all the behind the scenes stuff and you're already a Heat fanatic at that point, so you already know everything. This is just 2 friends talking about Heat, talking about Michael Mann, giving our thoughts and stuff like that. I always want to make that clear because I don't want people coming here thinking they're going to tell me something I don't already know because I'm a Heat fanatic. But if you just want to hear 2 friends talk about the movie and our thoughts on it, this is the place to do it. I will say this too. This is part 1 of 5. So what I mean by that, dear listener, is I've got 5 different co-hosts coming on to cover Heat because it's such a big film. 1, it's not short. 2, there's just so much that goes on in it. And I would like to hear different voices and opinions and thoughts on the film in general. But when I have my co-host on, like Craig today, we're going in chronological order of the film in that we're only going to speak directly, like specifically to the first 34 minutes of the film, and it's going to be about 30 to 34 minutes per guest. So I think everyone's tracking. But of course, I want to hear Craig. I want to hear your thoughts. Generally speaking, when did you first see the film? We'll get into all that stuff, just the broad strokes before we talk about a couple scenes for the first part of the film.
I advocated for something special for Heat. Yes. So I'm glad that you decided on a format that pays this movie the podcast respect it deserves.
Absolutely. So what Craig's referring to is after the 5 episodes of Heat are released and listened to by the public, I am taking from all said 5 co-hosts. They're going to share their thoughts and feelings on the final shootout scene of the film, because that, of course, is the big, we all talk about, everyone knows that scene. And I want to hear everyone's thoughts. That was Craig's idea. We figured the last person shouldn't be the only person that gets to talk about that part. And that's a fair statement. And that'll be like a bonus episode. It really is going to be 6 episodes. How long that 6th episode will be, it might not be very long. It could just be 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or whatever the co-host wants to share regarding that final sequence. And I will share my thoughts on that sequence when I cover it with the co-host. I guess it'd be the 4 that missed out. We'll get to talk about it. We'll pack the, you know what I'll probably do, Craig? I'll probably even just insert that into the actual, I'll say, hey, now let's listen to the 4 hosts that missed this part of the shootout, and then we end.
I do want to preface this by saying that if we had recorded this a month ago, this discussion might be slightly different in the fact that since you started planning this podcast, Val Kilmer has passed away.
Yeah.
And this movie is such a phenomenal showcase of that dude's talents. I'm sure we're going to spend time talking about Val, but I just wanted to front load it by saying it's really interesting that even a month ago, this conversation probably would have been different.
Very well said. Yeah, that's true. I'm glad he died before we record.
No, because then you listen back and we're talking about him as if he's alive, and people are like, "Geez, when did they record this?"
That's true. That's true. And now it will be evergreen from the time of his death onward. Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's get into it. I want to get first off, because this is your first time guesting on this season, the Michael Mann season, and you will be coming on again. I believe you're covering, is it Inside Man with me? Is that you?
No, it's The Insider. Yeah.
The Insider. Sorry.
The cigarette
Inside
movie.
Man.
Yeah.
That's right.
Another Pacino movie, too. I didn't even realize that. I'm doing the 2 Pacino films in his filmography.
Is that what it is? Is it The Insider or The Inside Man? Boy, I got the 2 mixed up in my head now.
The Inside Man's the Denzel Washington bank robber movie.
That's right. Oh, man. All right. You're right. The Insider. That's right. Russell Crowe and Pacino. That's right. Oh, it's funny. I was all excited because I got Inside Man mixed up because that's the one with Jodie Foster in it. Oh
Yeah. Oh
no.
no. Have you seen The Insider?
I've seen both. I just
Oh,
got
okay.
my brain. Look, I'm a Michael Mann fan, but again, I'm not a fanatic. I mean, I've seen all of his. Actually, it's not true. I've now seen all of his films, but I just got. It's funny. If you were to ask me 2 minutes ago, is Jodie Foster in a Michael Mann film?
It's good that we had this discussion because we would have sat down to record that episode and we'd start talking about two different movies.
No, I'm sure I would have figured out because I believe Inside Man is that a Spike Lee film?
It's a Spike Lee joint,
Yeah.
yes.
Spike Lee.
Wait, I don't know if that's a Spike Lee joint.
I think it is.
It might be a Spike Lee film. I don't know how he handles that credit.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I don't know if he wrote that. So if he doesn't write the movie, does he still call it a Spike Lee joint?
Are we gonna have to do a Spike Lee season? That one might be one worth investigating too, because he's an interesting director. I've seen a lot of his films. He doesn't like Quentin, does he?
He doesn't like Quentin's use of race. I know he takes offense to the fact that Tarantino, even though he was raised by a lot of Black parental figures and things like that, I think Spike Lee takes offense to him appropriating Black culture maybe in his movies or stereotyping Black characters. But since we're talking about Spike Lee recently talked about how important this new Ryan Coogler movie, Sinners, is.
Oh.
I rarely get out of the house to go see movies. But yesterday, the timing worked, and me and my wife went and saw Sinners in IMAX. And I got to tell you, man, as a movie lover, that's a movie that reminded me why I love movies. And as I was watching it, I was like, man, it's like Coogler is, I think now if you're talking about like directors, people talk about Christopher Nolan, they talk about Tarantino, they talk about David Fincher. It's seriously time to have a conversation about Ryan Coogler as one of the unique and innovative voices in film. There's a sequence in Sinners that 15, 20 years from now, I could see whoever the hot up and coming filmmaker is saying, I saw Sinners, and that scene in Sinners is what made me want to become a filmmaker.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Go see it in the largest screen you can and the loudest sound system you can.
Oh, wow.
If you're listening to this podcast, you probably love movies as much as Ryan and myself. And man, it was like a cinematic cleanse almost. Really, really cool. Okay. All right. Let's get to Heat. I'm sorry, I took up too much time.
That's okay. Everyone's already aware, but there might be a few listeners who aren't aware. Michael Mann actually wrote and directed a TV movie called L.A. Takedown.
L.A. Takedown. Yeah, I watched it about a year ago.
Oh, you did see it? I haven't seen it. It's interesting. It was a TV film, so obviously it was made for TV. It was originally filmed as a pilot for a television series, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
Of the names in here, I recognize Michael Rooker, great actor, and Daniel Baldwin was in it. Interestingly enough, that's about it for names. Oh, Xander Berkeley was in. I recognize that name. He's in 24. What's your overall thoughts on the TV film or the pilot? What was it? Was it good? Was it ahead of its time? Or
no, it was watchable. I think without the connection to Heat, it probably wouldn't be worth talking about. But it's interesting to see a filmmaker do something, realize how great of an idea it is, and then revisit it and get a second chance to do it and create a masterpiece. It's a curiosity at most. It's something I watched. I doubt I'll watch it again.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so it really does feel like a TV pilot / made for TV type.
Well, it's interesting to see Mann play with the idea and then get a chance to really do it with a bigger budget, the kind of budget it deserves, and more importantly, the acting talent that he has in Heat. I think every major character shows up in that first 34 minutes, right?
Yeah, and I haven't seen this movie in a spell. Like, I don't watch it yearly or anything. I've seen it probably, I admit, 3 times fully, maybe 4, maybe, but not more than 5. So it's been a few years since I've seen the film. I know well enough that when I'm watching it, I'm not surprised by any of the major beats, like the heist and this and that. But I forget like dialogue and scenes. And Michael Mann, of course, had another chance to write and direct and make a full-fledged movie out of this. Yeah, you mentioned the characters. We're going to get into them. We're going to speak briefly about them. And they're going to come up again 5 times as I do this. So I'm not going to say too much per actor, but I am curious with my co-hosts. and I'll say this to all of them, just to briefly give me your overall thoughts so I don't bore my listeners too much, but I want to hear your opinions about some of these actors, of just how they did in the film overall, or what you think of their career, like I've done on other movies. But if I'm going to have more than one co-host, I want to hear other people's thoughts on the characters if they come up during their segment of the movie they're going to watch, because like you said, Craig, almost all the major players are shown in the first half hour of this film, which is crazy. I'd forgotten that. Holy smokes. Not everybody, but most of the big ones. So right away, Robert De Niro. What are your thoughts of Robert?
Yeah, it's insane the level that he is able to achieve as an actor. And I know there's a lot of sort of conflicting opinions about De Niro now, as the political climate in this country has gotten as hot as it has. People aren't able to objectively look at artists for their art. I'm guilty of it as well. But it's really amazing to watch De Niro in what you could probably consider his prime, probably from Goodfellas to this movie, were like his prime years as an actor in terms of really achieving a high level in his craft. This character, it's such a well-written character, and De Niro's delivery is so good. It feels like you're watching a guy who's been in prison. It's pretty remarkable, in my opinion. And people have a lot of different opinions of De Niro and Pacino in terms of how one note they can be sometimes. But the directness of De Niro works in this movie. The work he does with his eyes in this movie. There's probably a scene that's not in that first 34 minutes that perfectly illustrates it, but it's even like the scene where he's in the coffee shop with Amy Brenneman. The reason that we're talking about this movie, other than the fact that you're doing a Michael Mann season, is because of the performances in this film.
Yeah. It's a showcase of incredible performances, and this is the Michael Mann season. And now that I've done his films, I've watched the films, of course, in order, because I'm doing the podcast in film order, and I've now seen, finally, with his fourth theatrical film, this is his first one since Last Mohicans, but I'm seeing definitely the way he films. It's there. I'm seeing it. I'm really seeing the Michael Mannisms. And I don't know if I really noticed it before, per se. I just know that he had a couple films I really enjoy, like Heat and Last Mohicans. So those are films I just like genuinely enjoyed. But watching his films in order from Thief to now, he really does have an aesthetic that it's just a really cool, I don't know how else to describe it. It's just like suave, cool filming techniques. He definitely has a Michael Mann flair. Like you can tell he's the director.
Yeah. And the other thing about Michael Mann that I really, really appreciate is the authenticity of his approach. And that is everything from, especially a movie like this, where you're looking at law enforcement and how they operate. There's a level of authenticity there. And that even boils down to the performances. Other directors might let actors off the hook, or might let them be a little bit lazy. But you can tell watching this movie that the performances are just as important as every other aspect of this film.
And speaking of film aesthetics, the way he does the angles and lighting and things like that, he has a love of a certain sound of music. Now, we talked about with his first two films, he used the techno German group Tangerine Dream.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he didn't use them for Manhunter, but I mentioned on that episode that the sound was still there.
Yeah.
And it's here too. It's a different conductor altogether. Very accomplished director named Elliot Goldenthal, and he's done a lot of films, like from Alien 3, he did Demolition Man, for example, Interview with the Vampire, just to name some. After he did Michael Collins, A Time to Kill. He's done some like Batman and Robin films. He's done a lot of big films. These aren't small films. They've done well at the box office type films. But what I'm getting at, I guess Michael Mann must tell the conductor Elliot, saying, hey, just so you know, go look at Thief, go look at The Keep and Manhunter, and I want you to mimic that sound, because you hear it here. Do you not hear?
Yeah. And much like artists or painters have a color palette, this is an oral color palette. These are the sounds I want you to work within. But then there's also bigger cinematic stuff going on in this movie too.
There is, but it's still there. And I forgot to mention this with Katie, and you haven't heard it yet because at the time of this recording, it's still being edited. But there was, even with that big, because Last Mohicans incredible score. It's one of my favorite scores of all time. But there were scenes in that movie where he still had the theme of I hear it. I'm like, I hear it. It is. I hear the sound. So even though it's a more classical epics by Trevor Jones used in Last Mohicans, there were moments in that film where it's like, I hear that Tangerine Dream, whatever soundscape he wanted. I guess what I'm saying is, just like Quentin Tarantino has a thing for feet, Michael Mann has a thing for, he's probably the first director where I can associate, other than maybe Steven Spielberg and John Williams, but he's the first director where you hear a theme in his music, where it's an actual, not just theme, sorry, a soundscape, an audible director's signature. He definitely, he has this. Oh, you're there.
By the way, I figured it out.
What? Your cap was on? The cap was on the computer?
Yes.
Are you serious?
But it's so weird that it would give us the error message that it did.
I hope people stuck around because Craig is now visible.
That's wild. So like, I just looked and I saw that I put my laptop on a new stand the other day. So when I picked it up, my thumb must have...
That's hilarious.
It was bugging me because this laptop's 2 weeks old. So I'm like, how can the camera not be working already?
That's all right. Funny. Well, okay. Yeah. I'm keeping that in, by the way, because I want everyone to see how human.
No, Ryan, I apologize because my episodes are so effing messy. I go on tangents. I get off topic.
Wow, that's me too.
So I apologize because I always do it, and it's something I say I'm not going to do, and then I do it anyway.
All right. So as we do, Craig, I'm not going to go plot by plot, even though I'm going to show certain scenes. Again, you're a Heat fan already. If you haven't seen the film, go watch the film. Even when I talk about these films and I listen to what I've talked about, I'm like, I don't really think I've really spoiled anything. I think no matter what it is, you just go watch the film. It's an incredible film. I do have one guest co-host coming on I almost hesitated having them come on. They don't like the film. They actually want to come on and they don't like the film. So we'll leave it at that. And he wants to be last apparently, so he can like really, I don't know. We'll see. I won't name him because I don't want to shame him. We'll let him shame himself when he comes on. But I don't know how you could objectively not like this film to any kind of degree.
Especially with the podcasts that he does.
Anyways, okay. So, yeah, I will echo regarding Robert. I'll speak more about him with other co-hosts, but for now, I really like Robert De Niro. I've always enjoyed Robert De Niro. I've been a quiet De Niro fan my whole life. I've never done a podcast about him. I've never rushed to the theater to see him, but I have seen a lot of his films, if not the majority of his films, and I always enjoy them. When you see him here, aesthetically, he just looks he's peak. And he's like 52 in this film, and he's handsome. He's just got that badassery to him, and he's so stoic and cool. This is where I give total credit to Robert, despite even some of his whatever Meet the Fockers Part 7. But whatever, he earned his stripes with films like this. So watching this with Robert is what I'm getting at. I'm like, man, he was so cool in this. I'd forgotten how cool he looks and acts. And this was the same year. Talk about a year for De Niro. It's Casino.
Yeah.
A very underrated, and I love Scorsese, by the way. I'm very tempted to do Scorsese season selfishly because even though he's not really an undersung director, I love his film so much. He's so good. He plays, of course, the baddie, the main boss guy, Neil McCauley. He's a professional thief. They live in LA, and he and his crew at the beginning of the film have one of the more classic scenes at the time. We're seeing how good they are. That's the whole idea, is we're seeing how good this crew is, robbing an armored car. Take a look. So let it play a little bit here. But again, it's that classic scene of the semi hitting the armored car, tipping it over. I love that inside the vehicle shot of the person in the car flipping. It's really well done. I don't know how often that was done. Don't forget, this film came out 30 years ago. So that inside the car sequence of being hit and moved, I don't know how much that was being done before this time. Do you know, Craig?
I don't, but I will say this. The driver is a stunt performer named Tommy Rosales Jr. And if you Google him, you'll see his filmography. It's pretty remarkable. But he is an indicator when you see him in a scene that something very technical from a stunt perspective is about to happen.
Because it looks like there's no CGI here, obviously, so it looks like he was jostled.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So that was him okay. That totally makes sense because it's a very impactful, excuse the pun, scene of him being jostled inside the armored vehicle. So it's very effective. Now we're seeing how precise these guys are. They got the timer. They realize once the call has been made, they have exactly 3 minutes to get out of there before the response comes in. And this is a great sequence here. Again, another classic scene when the windows get blown out, when they blow out the armored car door. It's just, again, a very effective, quick little scene of the sound effect that the explosion has, because that plays into the poor armored car's ears have been blown out in the process.
Clear!
Now, I love that because there's like that slight delay. He hits the switch and then the Oppenheimer effect, but a very quick version of it. The sound gets sucked in. There's no sound. It goes, and then boom. I wonder if Christopher Nolan even not stole it, but got influence from this scene. The idea that everything goes silent before the big boom.
Yeah, I can only imagine the amount of technical consultants there were on this film. And guys like Michael Mann and Christopher Nolan are going to want their shit to look authentic. Of course, they're going to have the right technical people involved.
Even that is a Michael Mann thing, and he started that, of course, with Thief, consulting with and working with actual thieves, consulting with them. And I believe with this film, the actors and Michael Mann, Folsom Prison was visited, other consultants in this area. So yeah, that's what makes this movie so cool. Is that, again, before Christopher Nolan was Christopher Nolan, you had Michael Mann doing this realism type stuff. It felt real, and that's why the big shootout at the end. That's what makes it so aesthetically pleasing to watch, because it didn't feel like an action movie. It felt like we were witnessing.
Miami Vice is a perfect example of this, where Miami Vice, the film, is basically a classic study of undercover police work, how covers are created. That's a very technical film in that aspect. And you can tell that that's the kind of stuff that interests Michael Mann. If he's going to do a cop movie, it's going to be authentic. If somebody like Doug watches it, they're not going to be able to say, oh, that's bullshit.
Okay, I just want to showcase the scene because we have the one guy, Waingro. He goes a little bit bonkers on his own. He's played by an actor named, I don't recognize his face. Kevin Gage is his name. Do you recognize him from anything in particular? He does have a familiar looking face, but...
No, it's funny, though, because Ted Levine's in this movie. Before you see Ted Levine, you watch this and you're like, oh, is that Ted Levine? And then you're like, no, Ted Levine shows up later. But he's got like a Ted Levine look to him.
I'm looking at his filmography. It doesn't seem like much came from after this film, which is really odd and too bad, because he does a good job playing a sleazeball of a sleazeball. He's done TV work, but just episodic TV here and there. And he's got films coming out, but they seem to be those type of straight to DVD. They don't even have a clickable Wikipedia link, if that makes sense.
I guess he's still working, though, which,
hey,
if he's paying his bills, good for him.
He's paying the bills. But yeah, so he plays Waingro, who we're going to see now basically stone cold murders a guard. And because of that action, they now have to off the other two guards. And it's tough. Again, what I like about this film is I've seen murder on film before, of course. It's not a big deal in the sense like I might clutch my pearls, but what makes it so brutal in this film is that it didn't have to happen, and the way it's filmed too, it just feels real. Like they just execute these guys. So
you get an indication that he's not as experienced as the rest of the crew, because you have why am I blanking on his name now?
Tom
Sizemore, who Waingro is giving the guy instructions and he's not listening to him, and Sizemore's like, hey, dipshit, look at the shit coming out of his ears. He can't hear you. You can tell that the crew has a level of experience that Waingro doesn't. And also that Waingro has a trigger finger and he's hot and he was looking for an excuse to kill somebody. But then, as Pacino's character points out, if you're going to catch a murder beef, it doesn't matter at that point. So why leave any witnesses?
Yeah, exactly. And here's that scene right here that we're talking about.
80 seconds left. Get back. Get back. slick. See that shit coming out of their ears? They can't fucking hear you. Cool it.
And right here, this poor guy,
Yeah.
shell shocked. This poor guard, just a complete daze. He can't hear. Maybe he can't even see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, their vision might not even be quite there. They're really in a state of shock. Number one, this guy is just looking, like you said, to blow him away.
I got it. Got it.
Okay, so they got the bearer bonds for the armored car. Good, let's go. Let's move. I don't understand. And it's never really explained in the film, at least the first 34 minutes of the film. Why did they even need this Waingro? Like, they could have almost done this without him. Maybe it's just a plot device. I get it. But this is such an experienced crew, like De Niro's character and the crew. They seem very experienced and tight. The idea that they have to hire an extra gunman when their whole idea was not to do this kind of shooting, it was just preventative if necessary. I wonder how they screened this guy. What was his resume where they felt like he could be trusted for this big heist?
Yeah. At the same time, you can see Macaulay doing the math on a job like this and doing whatever calculation he does and being like, this is the amount of guys you need. There's probably a minimum amount of bodies for guard control. That was Waingro's responsibility. And you saw there was the one guy that had the stopwatch who was keeping track of the 3-minute timer. Sizemore character, he had obvious coverage that he was looking at. It's understandable from that perspective, but if you're going to nitpick the movie, like your co-host at the end is, this might be one of the things that he details about why he hates the movie.
Let's not give him any ammo. I want him to come in on his own. I should have had him come on first, but he swears he has to be last because I guess he wants to leave a big heat shite for everyone to listen to. All right. I said, sure, you can go last. That's fine. All right. So here's Waingro, and it's just brutal. Brutal. Viewer discretion is advised.
Not a fuck with me. Not a fuck with me.
There's Tommy Rosales.
Yes, now they had no choice because, of course, the one shot happened. The other guy's like, well, crap, they're shooting us, so I got to pick up my gun, start shooting. They weren't going to fight, but like now he just shot my teammate, my security guard teammate, so I guess I got to fight now. They shoot him down, but then you have this one guy. Oh, I feel bad for this guy. He's still walking out, almost like surrendering himself, but
just wrong place, wrong time.
But why didn't they leave him? They're totally cut. Maybe because they heard their voices.
It's a good thing that homeless guy with the TV, they didn't see him.
You're right. They heard the word slick. We talked about that. They heard their voices, so I guess there is enough. There's voices, body statures. Yeah. How many were there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, who gives the order to kill? Is that
De Niro?
De Niro gives the order
and then it's Val Kilmer.
Or is it Kilmer that kills?
I think, you know what?
See, this
it's
is where
definitely Macaulay that gives the thumbs up. Yeah. But Kilmer was in the truck. He was the one that got the bonds.
Yeah.
That must be Sizemore.
Yeah.
And there you see the sort of the military precision there where obviously he's dead, but you still do the headshot.
Yeah,
because the body doesn't even move. What, 2 in the chest, 1 in the head or something?
That's right. That's the classic.
This is probably a good time. And
yeah, please.
I'm sure everybody listening is aware that in the last, 2 years probably, Michael Mann co-authored Heat 2, which is a novel, which is a prequel and a sequel to Heat. You get the history of Macaulay and his crew, but the book is split. There's 2 timelines. There's the pre-Heat and then post-Heat. And I know he's talked about making it into a movie. I know he talked about recasting, and I know Adam Driver was mentioned. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if he actually does it, especially now that Kilmer's gone. Not that Kilmer could have played himself or his character just because of the age. If you're a fan of the movie, definitely check out the book. There it is. Heat 2.
Oh,
with the
nice.
30% off sticker for when I bought it.
Is it a good read?
It is. It's a thick book. You can see it's 486 pages long is the hardcover. So it's a long book. It took me a couple of weeks to read. I actually read it on my Kindle. I took it out of the library on my Kindle.
No.
But I brought the hardcover just to support it and let people know that, hey, stuff like this should still be put out. So
I love it. No, I am going to read it after. It's on my to read list, and so they don't mention in the book about why they pick Wayne Grove. Does it lead up to these events at all, or is it just is it earlier, or
it's earlier, and then I think directly after. As we get to the introduction of Pacino's character, if you look at this movie. And if you look at this movie from the perspective of it not being written and directed and developed by Michael Mann, if this was just an idea conceptualized by somebody else, this movie, it's very possible another filmmaker wouldn't have done the cops and the robbers aspect of it, where you could start the film actually from Pacino's character, Hannah, arriving on the scene, detailing everything that happened, because he pretty much figures out exactly the sequence of events. But you could make a 90-minute version of this from just the cops' perspective, and it would still work. But the thing that makes it a Michael Mann movie is you get the cops and the robbers' perspective until the very last second of the film. You're not rooting for either one. When you're with Macaulay and his crew, you're rooting for them, but when you're with Hannah and his team, you're rooting for them. You're not really rooting against anybody. At least I wasn't. No. But of course, the final moments of the film, for me at least, it all felt right. At that moment, I was Team Hannah. Like,
of course, yeah.
But that's another interesting thing here is it's hard to do that because Macaulay and his crew, they do heinous things.
Right. Yeah.
It's always interesting to see when filmmakers are able to showcase people who aren't good, but also at least make you relate to them a little bit. And that's one of Mann's strength here is the cops never come off as looking at the bad guys in this movie. Whereas as much as I love him, Tarantino is not really great about the law and order aspect of things. Like even in sure. like Jackie Brown, right. the Michael Keaton character, who's a DEA agent or whatever. You don't really like those characters. They put Jackie in a bad position and it paints law enforcement in a bad light. Whereas here you can tell through Mann's entire filmography that he's got a reverence for law and the people who enforce it.
That's great because we're going to get into films obviously like Miami Vice and stuff or Collateral with the Tom Cruise character playing the hitman. There's like parts of you like, am I supposed to be enjoying this? I should be appalled by all this behavior. But this is the thing is it makes you question humanity in and of itself. And maybe we see ourselves a little bit in each of these characters. Within the criminals of this film, played by, of course, Tom and Robert and Val, they have a camaraderie, a team building and trust that's admirable. They're a tight-knit group and you admire and you almost want to, can I be part of this gang? And that's what made Wayne grow such an oddity is because he was such a loose cannon and he didn't fit. He was an issue from the beginning.
Yeah. You know what? I think a good word to use, Ryan, is you can respect what they do.
Yeah.
In the sense that regardless of what somebody's profession is or chosen profession is, if you see that they have a reverence and a respect for it and are good at it, you can at least appreciate that aspect of it. And I think it's funny because Hannah even ultimately understands and respects Macaulay, the scene, the 30 years in the making.
Yeah.
But you can tell that I don't know if it's mutual respect, there's mutual understanding, but I definitely think that there's an aspect of Hannah, especially as he looks at this crime scene, where there's a level of respecting the craftsmanship of what they do. He understands it. He knows that it's not just these 3 guards weren't killed for a reason. It's like the one was killed and then the 2 other were killed just because they're already going to have murder charges. So it's interesting there. And I don't know if that makes a good cop. It probably is the fact that you shouldn't underestimate or disrespect the people that you're hunting or investigating or looking for, because if you disrespect them, you're probably going to miss details or things that might help you catch them. So that's probably part of Hannah's philosophy. He even says it, right? These aren't gangbangers.
That's right.
These are professionals. So
Yeah, he recognized right away. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Uh-huh.
You have to know your enemy to chase them, to figure them out. I don't have any clips for the introduction of L as the LAPD Lieutenant Vincent Hanna, but he comes on the scene, but we see right away that he's sharp as a whip too. So you have the best cop in the area versus the best criminal in the area. That's the whole idea, of course, played by the two top actors within their field. It's a little bit meta, but that's what we love about it. I just love the idea that we get to that diner scene, but I just love how both Al and Robert are so respected in their own acting. It's almost like Arnold and Sly in the same. That's this idea that you have these competitors, I should say.
It's interesting because we got Sly and Arnold at least 10 years too late in Escape Plan. Both those guys were in their 60s, where here we have Pacino and De Niro. They're both in their early 50s at this point. So it's
55 Al and 52.
Yeah, Al's probably leaving his prime acting years, and De Niro's a couple years away. But we got it. And the unfortunate thing with Stallone and Schwarzenegger is they waited just 10 years too long. I do want to say about Pacino's performance here, and we all know that when I'm up for it, I do a Brian De Palma podcast, and I've talked about Scarface, and I've talked about Carlito's Way, and I've talked about my admiration of Pacino as an actor. But this movie, and I didn't look at his filmography to track it, but it seems like this movie is the start of the over-the-top, unhinged Al Pacino performance.
Sure. Yeah, can you believe he's 85 now, eh?
Yeah. Wow. You think about it, The Godfather was over 50 years ago at this point.
It's crazy. This movie was 30 years ago. 30 years ago. It shouldn't feel like a 30-year-old movie, but yeah. I just can't believe it's been 30 years.
If they made Back to the Future today,
I know.
He would travel back to 1995.
I know. It's so weird. That was yesterday. That's not.
While we're talking about technology or how long it's been, the one thing that does make this movie feel like it's 1995 is everybody's television. Oh. Even the television that Hannah takes from their house when he gets in the fight with his wife, everybody's got like 32-inch CRT TVs. Yeah. And even when the guy's watching the hockey game at the end, when Golly goes, this is a mansion this guy's living in. It's a multi-million-dollar mansion, and he's got a regular CRT TV where you watch now. It's like the size of the screens we have are just. That's the one thing that really dates this movie is the technology everybody's using, at least, especially from TVs.
We're talking about Al Pacino as a character. His last name is Hannah, but he was married, and the woman that he marries took the last name as well, Hannah. She's a divorcee. Her daughter, of course, played by 14-year-old Natalie Portman. So this is pre-Phantom Menace.
It's also pre The Professional, too, right?
I thought she was younger than The Professional. The Professional's 91 or 2, I think.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Remember that film came out, the controversy about her being so young and the way she was sexualized in that film. She was 14 in this film, and it's funny that we get the I wouldn't say it slows down the film anyway in that sense, but we just see Al playing dad to a stepdaughter, to his younger wife. The wife is Justine, and she is played by an actress named Diane Venora. Now, would you know that name if I didn't say the name? Would you know her from anything?
No.
Diane Venora. You know what she looks and sounds like? I hate to say this. This sounds terrible when I say this. But she's like the Temu or Wish.com version of Demi Moore. Yeah, I think we couldn't get Demi Moore. So you get Diane Venora when you don't get Demi. Is that terrible?
No, it's not. And by the way, The Professional was 1994.
Oh, it was still before by a year.
Okay. Yeah, he filmed, Luc Besson did La Femme Nikita in 1990.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So I think The Professional, funny enough, was the first time I saw Natalie as an actress. And okay.
This is another thing I really respect when movies do this. And Sinners did this recently as well. But when you see people on screen that are matched with people that would you realistically see together in real life. So you have a twice married workaholic cop. He's not going to be dating a supermodel.
True.
I respect authentic casting in movies. And when you see people together where you're like, of course, they're not going to be with Cameron Diaz or something. And
I could have done without the grabby makeout session at the beginning of the film. Like watching them like just kiss. It wasn't even like that sexy. They were just kissing and kissing and kissing. Ugh. I don't know if I want to see this. This is not.
Yeah.
It's just not appealing. Oh, and the other funny thing about their home, did you catch that their bedroom is just upstairs in the loft?
Yeah, that's the thing. As they're having sex, I'm like, where's the kid? Like, where's Natalie Portman here?
She just walks up the stairs, and the mom's like half dressed just after coitus with Al. Al's in the shower getting the stuff off him, and she's just like lying in bed with the cigarette. Or Natalie comes in. You guys done? Great. Have waffles now? Or,
yeah. Where's my beret?
Where's my hairpiece? Hey, but why did we waste 2 minutes looking for her hair beret?
The Natalie Portman character probably isn't necessary, aside from the fact that it lends another level of character element to Hannah, when it shows that he's not a good guy because he's being paid to be a good guy. He's genuinely a good guy. If you look at it, he's the only one that really cares about this girl. You can even tell the mother, to a certain extent, is a little bit selfish and probably not a great mother. And we never see the dad, but clearly the dad's a piece of shit. That's the reason for her character, is to reinforce that Hannah is a good guy and not the good guy.
Yeah. He's not a piece of ass, because he was actually like, did the dad come by and see your daughter? Lauren is the name of Natalie's character. So he's interested enough to make sure he doesn't want to overstep his bounds. Like, I'm not her dad, but at the same time, as a man should be with his daughter, and he's holding the ex-husband accountable better than the mother is in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so now we're at the scene where they being, of course, Robert De Niro's character, Neil McCauley, they meet up with Wayne Grow at the diner. So Wayne Grow's there at the diner talking to Tom Sizemore and Val's characters. Robert comes in, and I love where he basically slams his head against the table and then the window in the diner. And there's a buddy there who watches it, and then Tom Sizemore looks at him like, nah, don't worry about this. And the guy goes back to his paper or whatever.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And every time I see this scene, is like, this is what I wish I could do to my kids when they're nasty in the restaurant. Oh, you're being really loud in the restaurant. Boo, boo, boo. I always picture that. Okay, I'm just joking.
If you watch the way they all move in that sequence, where they're all at the table before Macaulay gets there, and I guess Sizemore sees Macaulay pull up. One of them says, I'm going to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
Sizemore clears the booth and goes and sits at the counter before sitting back down. Like that, you can tell that's all team choreography. They're still moving and working as a team, and it's all unspoken.
I will say this again, no offense to Robert's character, but as good as he is, he hired this guy, which doesn't make sense. And then he wants to off the guy. He's about to kill him in the parking lot publicly. They could have easily just said, hey, let's go to the horse and play cards. It's so weird that they couldn't even kill him properly. I found their whole ability with this guy really, of all the professionalism, their inability to kill this guy properly is weird.
Yeah, I think at the same time, you don't want to scare the guy. But also, Wayne Grow, he's the reason that the movie ends the way it does.
Sure. I know it's the trope. That's the trope. I get it.
Macaulay can't let it go.
Yeah. So here's the diner scene. Here we go.
I had to get it on, man. He was making a move. I had to get it on.
And I love the way De Niro grabs the back of his hair. It's great. It's a great little sequence. And Tom Sizemore, rest in peace, buddy. I've always liked him. In films. What about you?
Yes, agreed. And he was an intense dude, and he brought that intensity to his acting.
It was 2 years ago. Just 2 years ago that he died, age of 61. It's unfortunate.
We just watched this scene back, and we haven't really talked about him other than the fact that he's passed. But if you look at Val in that scene, it's all reactions. It's all in his eyes. He's just dialed in.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I love how he's very stoic. Val's very stoic.
And I gotta say this while we're talking about Val, and I'm sorry to cut you off. Later in this movie, we see a strung out and then a shot Val Kilmer character. But man, did anybody play sick and close to death better than Val between this movie and Tombstone?
That's true.
Like, you watch both of these performances, you're like, dude, he looks like he's on his last legs.
He's method acting.
Yeah.
Okay, so now this next sequence here is just an example of the Michael Mann. It's almost like he's saying, hey, I'm Michael Mann, the director that does stuff like this. It's Robert De Niro just overlooking the ocean in his apartment, but just the coloring, the hue, and the musical score will kick in quietly. So we got the camera set up just there. We see the gun put down on the table. De Niro's character just walks through the glass wall to look outside, and then he just does a classic stand. Camera pans up. We had the subtle cue of the music. He's thinking about the events thus far in the film, of course. But this shot here, that's a very Michael Mann shot there. Just a part of the face. And then it goes into focus of the ocean, and then his face blurs. And the coloring and everything. What do you think of this? Is that a Michael Mann shot or what?
Absolutely. That's the Michael Mann aesthetic to a T.
Yeah, so I just like that example. Okay, we're going to talk about Val in a second. I think he's the next scene. Yeah, so we get to see a young Ashley Judd, 27 years old. I'm not sure about her haircut. Was that the cuts of the 95? I can't remember now.
Yeah.
I don't know if Friends was big then, but I'm just trying to.
Yeah. In the book, you get the whole story of how the two of them end up together.
Oh, okay. Now, does she think he's a gambler and not a like?
No, she knows who he is.
Okay.
In the book, not to spoil it.
Sure,
but
that's fine.
She's a working girl in Vegas, and he's in Vegas gambling. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to see a little bit of their domestic life, so to speak. And I guess they have a kid together, which is brought up. And they have a fight before they go to a party. And we've all been there, Craig. We've all fought with our spouse before we go to a party.
I thought that was like the default.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, come on. You got to be kidding me. Honey, it ain't worth the risks you take for 8,000. Like in risk versus reward, baby.
Yeah, she knows what he does.
Oh, of course, there. Yeah.
There is no point talking to you because all you are is a child growing older.
What's this supposed to mean?
It means we're not making forward progress like real grown-up adults living our lives because I'm married to a gambling junkie who won't listen.
Oh, that's the part I got confused about. So she's saying he's making money off these hits, but he gambles it away.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not crazy about her hair, and I like Ashley Judd enough, but I feel like they couldn't get Sharon Stone for those roles.
Sharon Stone was a little too old at that point.
Really? 30 years ago?
Sharon Stone was in her mid-30s, probably.
Oh, I don't think she's that old now. Now you're going to make me Google her. So again, Ashley's 27 here, and Val is... I always like to know their ages because of their dating ages. So she's 27 as an actress. Val is...
31, maybe?
35.
Okay.
That's okay. Actually, that's my spouse and I'm 8 years older than my spouse, so that's legit. But Ashley, she's lovely. You don't really hear about her anymore. Have you heard about her recently?
I think she left the business on her own.
I liked her.
Sharon Stone was born in 1958.
Oh, she was 10 years older.
37. Her mom committed suicide within the last couple of years.
And she's had a rough
sister Winona has had public issues. So that family seems like they've carried a lot of weight.
Yeah, that's true. Singer, right?
Yeah. The judge. Yeah.
It's just sort of weird because she was in everything. Ashley was in everything for a while there.
But I think she's probably comfortable. She's got her money.
Yeah. Oh.
And unfortunately, it's hard for actresses. There's actresses that sort of have parts on lockdown. Like Meryl Streep's probably taking all the shit that Ashley Judd would get now.
Yeah. Meryl Streep has defied all odds with her getting older, but still gets great roles. Yeah. Okay. All right. So now we're going to get to the scene where we have Amy Brenner. How do you say her last name? Brenneman. Now, she is a little bit younger than Robert, I believe. She was born in 64, so she was 30. Yeah, so she's 20 years Robert's junior. Hey, look, legal, allowed.
I think the other thing is, and we've talked about this on the Sly episodes we've done, just because De Niro's character was 52 and Pacino's character were 55 doesn't mean that their characters were that age.
You mean the actors themselves?
Yes,
I know. I can't help it, Craig. I always get a kick out of it because at the end of the day, the people playing, like Amy knows her age. Like she knows how old she is. So she's acting to be attracted. Look, Robert's a handsome man. Don't get me wrong. Not even then, but even at 52, he's a very good looking guy. And she's 30, but you almost wonder, is there some daddy issues or something? She could date somebody like she looks young too. Like she looks a young 30 in this film.
Yeah.
Or 20 something year old. She was 30 on the dot. She's 22 years Robert's, but that's fine. Good for her. She looks lovely. And she works in the bookstore or whatever it is, Barnes and Noble or whatever it was. And I guess Robert De Niro's character goes there all the time, gets books. She's noticed him, this handsome older guy wearing a suit. And they bump into each other at the coffee shop. And she strikes up a conversation with Robert saying, hey, I got my eye on you. You're this cool looking daddy dude that I want to hit on. And this is that scene here. And he gets kind of like, because of his life, of course, he's like, why are you asking me so many questions? Like, thinking, are you a cop? Are you
his defenses are always up. Like it's the life that he's created for himself where you can't ever get complacent.
Yeah. And so here's that scene here. So she's done all this stuff, hitting on him, and he bites her head off a little bit, and then he realizes, oh, she legit is just a librarian or whatever, and she's cute, so he changes his tone a little bit.
What kind of work you do?
Lady, why are you so interested in what I read or what I do?
I've seen you in the store from time to time.
What store?
Missy and Ingalls, I work there. If you don't want to talk to me, it's okay. Sorry I bothered you.
Now he realizes, like, he believes her. Oh, now he makes a face like, oof, I just bit this poor lady's head off. And it's interesting how someone who is careful about not exposing himself as a career criminal would be like, why are you so interested in my life? He would almost want to play a little bit more, oh, hey, how's it going? And if you don't mind my asking, where do you see me from? But the fact that he bites her head off almost indicates he has a scary past, because she plays it very well. She's like, oh, this guy's maybe a rough guy, because even when he changes his tune, she's now hesitant to continue, but she does. But you can see she kind of reassesses, do I keep talking to this guy? Because he seemed angry and now he's not.
Yeah, I'm sure what happened with Waingro is also affecting his mood and his affected, how he reacts here.
She was in that TV show Judging, but I love how her name in the show was Amy Gray, and her name is, like, what came first? Did they call the show Judging Amy because she was Amy, or did it just happen to work that way? Okay. Now, what I love is it continue. Oh, actually, let's see the tone change here first, though. It was good.
I didn't mean to be rude. I didn't recognize you. I work in metals. I'm a salesman. My name's Neil.
I'm 80.
Yep.
Yeah.
She would have been better off just giving him the brush.
Yeah. Now, the next scene I want to show you, so they end up having coitus the first night, as one would with Robert and her. But before they do, they have a date at his penthouse or whatever. They talk over their family history and all that good stuff. Was there digital film at this time?
No, this was shot on film. I believe the first movie Michael Mann shot, I believe it was Collateral. Collateral and Miami Vice were shot on
digital.
Digital, yeah. Digital started around 2000 or 2001-ish. I think the second Star Wars prequel.
I thought the first one was as well, maybe. But you're right.
That was shot on film. The second one is when Lucas started working with digital.
The reason why I asked, check out the scene, because this is it looks very digital, which is okay. So it shows Michael Mann, of course, that aesthetic that he goes for. But is this a really bad blue screen at the same time?
The scene where they're like on the deck.
Yes. So I'm just going to mute it, and we don't need to listen to the dialogue. But look at this.
I always felt like there was something going on with the scene. And I think it might be
right here.
Yeah.
Like, that's not very good. Look, I get it's 95, but why not just film at a proper skyline? That's why I'm showing this, because it has a digital look to it. But here, that's really bad right there. You can see
It's green screened.
Green or blue screen, and but they had to shoot what do you call it? A secondary unit has to go get a skyline shot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Why not just shoot them at the skyline? All right. Okay. So you can see why we had to do this in parts, right, Craig? There's so much that goes on even the first half hour.
That's why I always told you Heat needed to be a super show.
You told me this has to be a super show, and you told me, and we're going to get your thoughts after we record or this part. You're going to share your thoughts on the final shootout. But before we get to that, I just want to show the classic. Why did Al... Okay, so when Al has his little blow up, so we're getting to see now where Al and his partner, played by the famous Bubba Gump dude, how do you say his name?
Yeah, Mikhail
Williamson.
Mikhail Williamson, yeah.
Yeah, he's the classic, him and Forrest Gump talk about all the different shrimp they're going to have. Anyway, so he's playing his partner, but Al Pacino's character is talking to some guy about where were you last night, blah, 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 trying to get information out of him. And I'm going to play it. Before we play it, I'm going to ask you now, I should say, was this direction given by Michael, or did Michael say, Al, I want you to do this out of the blue? It makes no sense the way this conversation is going. Or did Al just do it, and did he surprise Michael with it? Here's the scene.
The thing was yesterday. Today, you're wasting my motherfucking time.
Listen, man,
Did you fall in love? Come on. Did you fall in love last night? You went off somewhere?
Listen.
Just tell me that. I'll settle for it. You know what I mean? I'll buy that.
Listen.
Give me all you got!
Listen.
Give me all you got!
I swear, me and my brother, man.
I love it so much. I actually had forgotten that scene. I'd forgotten that he did that. So I'm watching this interview with this guy, some sort of informant or something. So he asked the guy, like, where were you last night? What's going on? Tell me what you have. Did you fall in love? Is that why you weren't where I thought you were supposed to be? Whatever the situation. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't even matter. But the fact that Al, why did he give me? Let's just watch that one more time, because I think our audience needs to see it too. Why does he do that? If I was in this interview right now, holy crap, he scared the crap out of me, Al.
Listen.
Give me all you got!
Listen.
Give me all you got!
I think that's a Pacino thing, and I think probably in the script and the direction that Michael Mann gave him was probably something to akin of, you're dealing with a guy from the streets, so take on sort of a street persona. And Al probably got keyed into something, and Al is the type of actor, when he gets an idea and he commits to it, it might be hard to get him off of it.
Maybe the commentary talks about it and I don't have it. So maybe
I've listened to the commentary and I don't remember.
Does Michael Mann say, yeah, Al surprised me with that. But I will say that the next episode, part 2 of our Heat coverage, will be with Doug. And I'm going to start that scene with him. That's how we're starting, because it's in the middle of that scene where your time ended. So I'm going to show that I just want to hear Doug laugh about it. I think it's worth to do it again. But before we go, let people know where they can find you.
Mainly, it's my guest spots with you. I do have a podcast called The GOAT, a Brian De Palma film podcast or fan podcast. And I know we're on this network together. So if you're listening to this on this feed, if you scroll up or down, you'll probably see my De Palma episodes. It's been a couple of weeks since I've done an episode, and I had laptop problems, which prevented it. And then also I hit a little bit of a creative wall. Hopefully I pull myself out of that and I'm serving up new content. But if you just Google my name, Craig Cohen, Las Vegas, you'll probably be able to find a link to all the stuff I do. And I'll send you the link, Ryan, if you want to include it. Tons of podcasts. And I also make music that you can listen to and hopefully enjoy. But either way, the thing I really, really enjoy the most is doing guest spots on podcasts.
You do great. I love having you on. It's
just so fun.
You're actually officially the film, even though not the episode after, because we're doing more with the Heat, but you're the next film, the Insider Man.
Yeah, I look forward to talking The Insider, because I almost feel like The Insider might be the first Michael Mann movie I saw in theaters.
Oh, wow. Last week's Heat and The Insider, I saw all the theaters back to back to back. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, 85, I wasn't going to the movies a lot, so I was trying to think about the first time I saw Heat, and I really think it was like on the double VHS release.
Oh, wow.
It was like the movie was on 2 tapes.
Yep.
Like you had to change tapes. I don't remember what scene it happens at. And aside from that, I know I didn't see Last of the Mohicans in theaters. Obviously, I didn't see Manhunter. My dad took us to questionable movies, but he knew not to take us to Manhunter. But yeah, I think The Insider was the first movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I remember when The Insider was coming out, how I was looking forward to it because of Heat. I had already watched Heat on VHS and home video, and had already gone through Mann's filmography. So I remember The Insider was a movie I was looking forward to. I was like, oh, the next Michael Mann movie's coming out. So yeah, I'm looking forward to talking that movie. I think it's a really interesting movie. It's going to be great to talk Russell Crowe in that movie.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, agreed. Okay. All right. Thanks for coming on. And thanks everyone for joining us for part 1 of 5. That's right. We're doing this in 5 parts, and I look forward to doing the other ones with the other co-hosts. And stay tuned for the last episode, part 5, where my secret guest co-host will shite all over this film, apparently.